welcome back to the farm. So I'm in the workshop today. I've been doing some cleaning, getting ready for spring. I am getting ready to make my a custom-made seed starting. It makes zero sense for me to buy something when I can make something that's better. Now this is my compost. I just grabbed 5 gallons out of the bin, ran it under a screen. This is this old screen B frame top. Do you use that for ventilation? An old one is perfectly run as a screen, which is why you see it so light and finely grained. Because seed starting mix, you want to be very light and fluffy. Now for base components, you got 2 options here. You got coconut coir. This is very sterile, pH neutral. Holds 100 times its weight in water. Now you can see the difference here. Now I highly recommend when you put this into, or when you're mixing the stuff together, wet it down beforehand, because if you don't, the seeds are going to float out, the soil is going to float out, and it's going to be a real mess. The other option you have is, as I get this stuff in my glove, is peat moss. This is much more common. I'm a little more, and you see the difference here? I haven't wet this down. You see how crumbly it is, how fluffy it is? This holds 20% of weight in water. It does have some nutrients in it. This is a carbon sink, so I don't like using this a whole lot, but it's always good to have options on hand. In some cases, this may be more economical than the coconut coir, depending on where you're at. I need to add more water, because you see how this is just getting messy everywhere? And you could also use your worm castings. You see I've added to the tower. However, I'm not going to use the worm castings in this mix because, one, my worm castings are so wet, it'll just be very messy to use. Which is why I use the compost. The other components you would use, if I can find where I put it, oh there, is perlite and vermiculite. Which you see what this stuff is, and you see how these are basically lava rocks. And this is a mix that people use for hydroponics. And I highly recommend wearing a dust mask with that. So what I'm going to do is add a little peat moss in here. Just a couple handfuls. Try not to make a mess. This to give it some more added nutrients. Now my compost is pretty wet because we've had a lot of rain several days. And the fact that the bees are out right now because it's a warm day. The bees have survived the Arctic blast. Now, the reason why I'm just adding a handful of peat moss is I'm getting ready to transplant some onions, so I want plenty of nutrients in there because onions are heavy, heavy feeders. They need a lot to get going. You see how I'm just mixing this up here? That doesn't belong in there. But you see the color of the compost? The darker the compost is, the more nitrogen's in it. Now I could add worm castings. However, the worm castings I will add in later. to top it off. Now I'm going to add my coconut coir, because this is really... This has a lot of water retention, so it's very practical. And I'm going to add 3 handfuls of this. And no, I'm not calculating this precisely. I'm really not calculating this very precise at all. This is some paper that would degrade down. That's perfectly fine. Most of our soil mix that you see people make is heavy peat and perlite. And that's pretty much what they do. It's always found out to be a little underwhelming myself, but everyone does things a little different. And seed starting mix is not like your standard potting mix where you have all these pieces of bark in there. Because you want it to be as fluffy as possible. That way when the seed starts growing, it's unobstructed and it has an easier time getting from point A to point B. And you see how this is already starting to look more like a soil mix. And any soil that falls in is going to go back into the bucket. Okay, I'm almost done with this. And if you're worried about any that fell out, you just take the mat out. You just dump it back in. And that's perfectly fine to be in there. You just take this back in. Voila. And what I like to do, any extra stuff I get, and you can use sand. It's really just what you want to do. There's no right or wrong to this. You see, I still have plenty of soil mix, so and I sometimes will vary my batches. So one batch will be heavier in compost, the other one will be heavier in, for example, what I'm going to do with this, since I have extra, this is why I need a better system. This is definitely why I need a better system. Wasn't expecting I was going to get 2 out of this, but hey, whatever. Apologize about that. I'm still working on this system on here. And this allows you to make custom mixes for what you're looking at. In this case, since I'm wanting to sea-start onions, they're heavier feeders. So again, I need more compost based. If I'm worried about germination, I would go more into the worm castings. And even if you were to buy a bag of seed starting mix, you're only going to get about a very small bag. And it's not going to be as nice as what you've seen, right? What I've made. Right. And you see how I got that one done? So I was able to get 2, and I still got more for... So this is good. So what I'm going to do here, try to take this out. Try to take this out and try to clean this up a bit, as I said. Ah. Without you going into the... Something else I didn't include is you could add Santa here if you don't have perlite vermiculite. You could use soilless, which is coconut and coir and perlite. This depends on what you're going after. Now, most of my soil mixes are heavier on the coconut coir because I don't usually have compost available. This is new to me. So now I'm going to go get my seeds and plant my onion seeds. So I'll be right back. I apologize about that. But these sit on here. These are humidity domes. They just sit on. They help keep the They help keep the heat in, so it speeds up the germination rate. And with that, we're done. Thanks for joining. I hope this helps you guys out. Feel free to leave a comment. I'll catch you in the next one.